Hello, this is NoiressNotes, and these are some of my celebrity opinions and observations. Let's get straight into it. Now, first off, coming in with a banger, I'm going to say that I don't think Bonnie Blue's personality is that bad. I think Bonnie Blue is actually quite funny. After watching a couple of her interviews, especially her interview with Andrew Tate, I think she is very intelligent, aware, and witty. She knows what she's talking about, and I don't really agree with what she's doing with her body, and I believe it's degrading for her to let herself be used in that way. I'm still cool with her personality. And regarding what she does, I guess I can't have too many qualms as it's consensual on all sides. I just don't think she should have such a large platform to where she could be influencing a bunch of other people. Though, yeah, I understand that's where a lot of her hate comes from. But I actually appreciate, aside from that, I actually appreciate her honesty and her straightforwardness, especially when it comes down to society and how men are treated and how men and women interact. I can always appreciate someone who says the quiet part out loud. So for that, I respect Bonnie and I find her trustworthy for those reasons alone. And contrary to what viewers might think, in the interviews I have seen her in, she typically run laps around whoever she's talking to, whether it's the one with the British girl or the one with Andrew Tate. Well, British girl, they're all British, or the one with Andrew Tate. It's like, I don't even think Andrew realized that she was running laps around him, and I think anybody with sense would know that, because he did a lot of talking and he seemed very sure of himself, but she seemed more willing to acknowledge when she's wrong and just be more open-minded and have an actual basis for her opinions. But yeah, I just think Bonnie's very underestimated and very intelligent. People think she's a sociopath, but I think people get accused of being a sociopath or a psychopath when they're really intelligent and really logical and don't find it necessary to give way to people just because they're super emotional. So yeah, I don't think Bonnie's the worst thing ever. I just don't think she should have such a large platform or a large reach. It should not be easy for underage people or naive people to have access to her and information about her and her content. Now for my next opinion. As an avid watcher and fan of 2000s reality television, I'm sure many people are familiar with the shows Flavor of Love, Daisy of Love, and Rock of Love. Now, I've watched all three, and I can say with confidence that I think Bret Michaels on Rock of Love seemed like such a creep, and I didn't really like him as a person, and I think he was clearly in heat with not much of a limit. Like, he was just openly a horn dog. And he did a poor job of defending the girls and the contestants on the show. I will get into that a little bit later. But basically, he let a bunch of the girls gang up on Christy Joe, which I think was completely distasteful, and they were clearly jealous of her. He let them yell at her, raise their voice at her, even though she was very clearly a timid and quiet girl. And I lost even more respect for him when they all went to what I remember as was a bar or like an adult club, and a contestant on the show said she did not want to partake in like the pole dancing because she's a mother and her children will most likely see her engage in that kind of behavior. And he was just dismissive and basically told her that her children were not there right now, so it shouldn't matter, which I found really disgusting, especially since he's a father himself of two young girls, and he doesn't mind the fact that his daughters would most likely grow up to find that their father wasn't spending time with them because he'd rather be on a reality show still trying to live a rock star fantasy in his 40s and trying to find his very own live-in groupie half his age so that he can treat her partially like a sentient blow-up doll. And to many people's surprise, I found that Flavor of Love's version was way more respectful, and Flav had more tact and, just respect when dealing with the girls on the show. And he did not condone as much bullying, and he made more of an effort to get to know the women beyond their skin, even though he still wanted to get it in. But I just feel like Bret Michaels just left a bad taste in my mouth. So his show is the only one I didn't finish, though I did finish Daisy of Love and Flavor of Love, which I'm actually a big fan of both. I enjoyed those both thoroughly, and even though I'm not a fan of rewatching, I would definitely rewatch both. And I'll also add that Bret let the blonde girls be racist towards the black and ethnic women, which I found completely unacceptable and disgusting. And I know a lot of people throw on the word racist and like all these problematic, like words like problematic these days, but no, like it was really bad. Like, I just thought it was unacceptable how he let it slide, and he even let one of the girls on the show, a blonde girl, convince him that one of the only black girls on the show, or I think she was the only black girl on the show at that point, she convinced him somehow. He let her convince him that the black girl was a transgender, even though she was clearly a woman. And I thought that was extremely racist, being that black women are typically compared to men and white women compare black women to men to make themselves look more feminine in contrast. And it was really racist, and it wasn't even the only time that the blondes, specifically the blondes on the show, were vehemently racist, because it's like a white supremacist ideal that, you know, blonde hair and blue eyes is the most attractive. So a lot of white girls are of the belief that because they have blonde hair, they're automatically more attractive. And I just think it's pathetic how they thought that the blonde hair automatically made them prettier, despite some of them looking more manly and ugly, to put it simply, than their ethnic counterparts. Like, I hope they know that blonde hair only truly holds a lot of weight to other Caucasians. Ethnic people don't really use blonde hair as a definite marker of beauty, or at least in not such a great degree. Like, that's literally elementary school logic. And I'll also never forgive him for letting that rotten hellspawn Lacey stay on the show just because she was polishing his knob. She was incredibly manipulative and racist, and would violently bully and provoke the other girls, especially the black girls. She would literally put her hands on them and like get physical. She even pushed a girl into a pool, and he literally let her stay on the show until like near the end, which I thought was insane. Like, yeah, she makes for good TV, but if it's to the point where she's putting her hands on other people, she should have been escorted. And it really sucks because the girl that she put her hands on went home eventually. And, you know, I can't believe he brought her back. And that says a lot about his character. Like, I just couldn't deal. Like, still to this day, I haven't finished the show, and I don't, like, I'll probably have to force myself to finish it if I ever want to. Because I did finish Daisy of Love and Flavor of Love. But yeah, I just never liked Bret Michaels after that. Sorry for the rant. Anywho, my third opinion, and this is less of an opinion and more like a fact, but I think Klay just cheated on Megan just because he's a cheater. That's it. It's not Megan or anyone who else who gets cheated on's fault. That would be victim blaming. And Megan getting cheated on has nothing to do with her past. Klay is just a cheater. People just want to punish her because they see her as a 304, and everybody knows that 304s don't get sympathy, they get dehumanized. And that gives men a pass for their behavior, especially men who are morally aligned with Klay. But I think that's ridiculous to blame Megan, because Klay has literally been a cheater for years and cheated on almost all the women he's been with in the last 10 years, if not all of them. Matter of fact, a photo even went around about a month ago of his journal from years back, like 2019, where he journaled how much of a womanizer he is. There's a literal multiple photos of this diary of his where he calls himself a womanizer, and all these people are trying to bring up Tory Lanez and bring up Megan's past like that has anything to do with anything. Megan's taste in men is a different story, but a cheater only cheats because they want to. End of story. There's no excuse for cheating. That's something you choose to do. It's not like anybody held a gun to your head and was like, cheat. He could have left her. They're saying, now they're coming out for PR saying, oh, well, she was too loud, she was too ghetto. Well, he could have broken up with her. Simple as that. And I think the part that probably bothers Megan the most is that he made her feel like they were gonna have a happily ever after. Like, he named a boat after her, they moved in together, you know, she met his parents. Even though people say, like, nowadays that don't really mean anything. If a guy makes you meet his parents, he'll bring all his little side pieces to meet his family, and they'll just shake their head. But I just think it's incredibly immature and unfair and immoral to blame Megan for getting cheated on, because I'm pretty sure she didn't want to. Even if a woman is promiscuous or carries herself a certain way, that doesn't necessarily mean she wants to get cheated on. Literally nobody wants to get cheated on unless they have some sort of sick kink. But yeah, Klay's just a cheater, that's it, and it has nothing to do with Megan, and I hope Megan doesn't take it personally. Simple as that. Now, my next opinion is about the queen bee herself. Now, I know this may sound far-fetched, but I try my best not to say things without a valid reason. So if I'm being this dramatic, there's a good reason. So, my next opinion is that not liking Beyonce is a red flag. Simple. Like, I know it sounds crazy, but walk with me. I think Beyonce haters are usually losers, because think about it. Beyonce embodies a winner archetype. She's a prodigy, she's successful, extremely so. She's glamorous, she's extremely talented, she's poised, she's charismatic, she's stylish, she's hardworking, and she's very beautiful. And she carries herself well. And she seems to be intelligent despite people saying that she's not that smart. She literally have influenced the music industry on numerous occasions. She's the whole reason why albums are now dropped on Fridays instead of Tuesday. So I think Beyonce deserves every ounce of her success and her credit. And I think when people try to diminish her impact and hard work, I think they do it to feel better about their underwhelming selves. Because what about being a winner bothers you? What about being the human embodiment of excellence? What about someone living up to their maximum potential bothers you? Probably the fact that you're a loser in comparison. And only a loser would tear people down to bring themselves up, especially insecure people. And I think it's very disrespectful and childish when people chalk up her success to like Illuminati or like, you know, conspiracy theories. And I know we're living in a time where conspiracy theories are actually factual and true, but there are a bunch of other musicians that came out strong and then fell off. Is it because everybody except her wanted to do XYZ? No, it's because she's hardworking, she studies her craft, she focuses on herself, she's not wasting her time comparing herself to other people. She's earned every ounce of her success. And someone being bothered by her positive traits like hers is a red flag. And everyone I've ever seen unreasonably dislike Beyonce were typically underachieving, insecure losers. Case closed. And also I'd like to add the fact that Beyonce is spiritually Filipino to me, whatever that means. I just thought that was funny to say. But yeah, case closed. Like, anytime somebody doesn't like Beyonce to me, I look at them funny, because what exactly is there not to like? She doesn't even talk enough or share enough to where people could be like, oh, she's rude, oh, she talks to people like crap, oh, she's condescending. Like, there's not enough information on her personality for people to really come to a solid conclusion. And what you do see of her, she's usually very poised, very calm. She's very intentional in the way she speaks. You know, she's a very accomplished person, and I just don't see how there's anything to particularly dislike. And when you think about it, Beyonce is one of the only celebrities to have no scandals. Because when you think about it, she doesn't have any. She's never gotten a physical altercation with anybody. You've never seen her in a screaming match with anybody. You know, people usually have good things to say about Beyonce, and people are loyal to her for that reason. She literally has a flawless reputation. And the only scandal she's ever actually, the only thing that could be considered a scandal that she was in was her husband cheating on her, and that wasn't even her doing. So she still haven't done anything. Like, there are literally other celebrities that have, you know, assaulted people and demeaned people, even on camera, you know, get into clapback wars on social media. Beyonce has never done such a thing. So it genuinely puzzles me when people have like a strong disapproval for Beyonce, because there's just not anything to really disapprove of. Now, if you just don't like her, you know, her music's not your thing, or she's just not your thing, that's different. That's okay. That's your opinion. But for someone to loudly and boldly express their distaste for Beyonce, it just doesn't make sense to me. And it's usually insecure people that gossip anyways, because that's the only way they can feel seen or validated or important about themselves. Case closed. Now, for my next opinion, I'm going to say that Keke Palmer, Teyana Taylor, and personalities alike, I find very obnoxious and loud. I don't really find them funny, and I dislike particularly when fellow black people mistake being loud and obnoxious for authenticity and humor. I'm of the assumption that the people in Hollywood that laugh at them see them as a clown and for entertainment. They do entirely way too much, and I don't find that very secure at all. I find it very embarrassing and attention seeking, especially when they're at a classy or formal event or a red carpet. Like, have some tact, you know? And for the fellow black folk that egg it on because they think it's coon-proof behavior, because they're showing how much they don't care about what the man thinks, I find that extremely ignorant, and they themselves have low standards for black people and behavior. Because I think some black people are of the impression that if a black person acts in a way that's not considered classy, then they think that's them being authentically black, which I find disrespectful to blackness itself, because why must you be under the assumption that class is synonymous with Europeans? Class and honor is a universal like standard, you know? And I just really don't like when you are a black person with class. Well, this is a little tangent, but in my experience, I've always been like well spoken, and I've had people tell me I talk white or I'm trying to be European, when really I'm just carrying myself with class and tact. And you're disrespecting yourself by thinking that just because you're black, that equals behaving ignorant or being belligerent and loud. I just don't like that, and I don't like specifically black people that fall into that kind of behavior, because then it just reinforces stereotypes that we're ignorant, we're loud, obnoxious, you know, we're not as intelligent, we're unable to have self-control and compose ourselves, and to, you know, rise to the occasion and behave with the proper amount of class needed for whatever social environment we are in. I really want better for black figures in Hollywood and black entertainers, because they represent all of us. Because people in China that have never met a black person, they're gonna see people like that and then think that this is like who we are. And I mean, yes, there are a lot of people, especially of all races, that are very loud and, you know, colorful personalities, but I think specifically we in the black community have it worse. We are seen way worse, and I don't know, I don't like it, because we kind of do have something to prove, because most people think we're dumb or dumber than other races. So the least you can do as a black person with a platform is carry yourself well to make us look good as a whole. Anywho, this video is getting quite long, so I'm just gonna stop here and continue in a part 2. And so that's all I have for this video. If there's anything on your mind, feel free to leave some notes in the comments below, and see you next time. Thanks for watching.